Hey everyone, this is Chris with Ignited by Nature and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited because I'm going to be talking about the VX-6HD rifle scope. Now this is the first gen. I actually own 4 of the first gen rifle scopes and I absolutely love them. I've been using them since 2018 and me and my wife have killed a pile of deer with these rifle scopes. So now that they come out with the Gen 2, we're going to talk a little bit about it and see if it's worth upgrading. So first off, let's go ahead and just talk about these rifle scopes. Now, the VX6 Gen 1 is pretty much the same as the Gen 2, and we'll go over the differences a little later. There's actually not really much difference, so if you already own the VX6 HD Gen 1, you probably don't need to upgrade. I absolutely love the VX6 HD. It's been very accurate, and I've used it out in the field a bunch. I've dropped it and bumped it against things. I haven't dropped it off anything like 3 feet high, or I wouldn't drop it from right here and test it out and see if it works. I know there's people that do that, and if you get a hard on doing that, go ahead and do it. But for me, I like to treat my scopes good, and if they do get a little dinged or bumped out in the field, as long as they work, I'm okay with it. As far as aiming or actually putting bullets down range at targets and dropping animals, the scope has been great. I haven't had any issues with it. If you'll look at the 3-18 by 44 scope I have in front of me, you actually can turn it up to 18 power or down to 3 power. So you have an adjustment of 3-18, and that's a 6-to-1 multiplier. So all VX6 HD scopes are a 6-to-1 multiplier. So you have the 1-to-6, the 2-to-12, the 3-to-18, and then you have the 6-to-24. And I actually own the 2-to-12, and I own 2 of the 3-to-18s and 44 millimeter, and then the 3-to-18 by 50 is the other one that I own. And for me, long distance, the furthest I'll probably go is 500 yards, so I probably won't need to hold over for wind. But just in case, I have the option to hold over with that TMOA reticle. You also have the reverse throw lever that comes with the scope. On this scope in particular, I don't have the reverse throw lever, but I have it on all the other ones, and I absolutely love it. It just makes it easy to turn, and especially if you really need to dial it in really fast, you just grab that throw lever and toss it up to 18 or whatever power you need to get it to. You have 2 full rotations of upward elevation, and that works out to be, I believe, 70 MOA of adjustment. And then it actually has a 0-lock elevation cap and a 0-lock windage cap. I either want the windage cap capped without a 0-lock or with the 0-lock. If you take a look over on the other side over here, you'll actually see that all the scopes have a parallax. And actually, I think the 1-to-6 and the 2-to-12 don't have a parallax, but the 3-to-18 and the 4-to-24 actually do have a parallax, which the parallax just allows you to adjust the focus depending on the distance you're at. So you always want to adjust the parallax so that you have a better sight picture when you're actually taking a shot. You also have a quick focus adjustment in the front that you can turn here and adjust the focus of your scope. So if you have old eyes or you just have bad eyes in general, you can actually adjust your focus here. And then with the VX6 HD, you also have alumina caps. This is their proprietary name for these aluminum caps, and they're magnetic and they lock, so they keep dust and rain off of your scope and your optics. Now, they do have the guard ion lens coatings, and same with the Gen 2s, they have the same guard ion lens coatings. And then, like all Leupold scopes, you have a lifetime unconditional warranty, and they honor that warranty even if you didn't buy the scope firsthand. If you buy the scope secondhand, they'll actually take care of you as well, so you don't have to worry about, buying it used and not being taken care of. They'll take care of you no matter what. And I've used the warranty 3 times at Leupold, once for binoculars and twice for this actual scope here. But Leupold took care of me every time. No questions asked, and so I definitely trust their warranty. And as far as the ruggedness of these scopes, like I said, I haven't dropped them from like 3 or 4 feet up to test them, but I have like dropped them like this, dropped them on its side, or I'm glassing on a hill and I accidentally bump it and it gets knocked over and hits a rock, that kind of stuff. And it's always held 0 for me. I've never had any issues with it holding 0. And as far as tracking as well, I'm not doing any competitions, but when I need to dial up, I think the most I've ever had to dial was like 475 yards or 473 yards. It was somewhere in the 470s. That's the furthest I ever had to dial with this scope in the field actually hunting. Now I have shot out to 1,000 yards with all these scopes and they shoot great. The one thing you want to keep in mind, if you go with low scope rings, you're going to have to probably take off this cap with an Allen wrench. So there's actually 3 little Allen screws that you have to take off to adjust the windage cap. So if you actually need to go down in elevation with this turret, you can't actually go down, so you have to pop it up, make your adjustments, and then pop it back on. Another cool thing that I really like about the VX-6HD, which is not something I completely rely on, as you can see on this 50mm 3-18 VX-6HD, I actually have a bubble level on my rifle scope. And that's just to double check the actual leveling system of the VX-6HD, because it does have a leveling system in it, which is really handy out in the field. On the fire dot duplex reticle, you actually have to brighten the reticle up. So you can actually do that by clicking this button right here where the parallax is. And then the same with this TMOA reticle here. I like having this at a lower setting, especially at twilight. And so I really like to be able to adjust the brightness of that reticle. But overall, I think the 3-18, it has the best versatility. And I just like the magnification range. So that 3-18, like I said, is kind of the sweet spot for me. And as far as the 50, the 52, or the 44mm for the 3-18, I would say that I would go with the 44 just to save a little weight. I honestly haven't seen that big of a difference between the 44 and the 50mm scope. As far as the focal plane of all these VX6HDs, they're all second focal plane. They're a hunting scope. They don't make first focal plane with the 6HD. And one thing I want to emphasize about that is if you use the TMOA reticle, you have to be zoomed all the way up to 18 power for that reticle to be functional and to be usable. But just keep that in mind. If you go with the TMOA reticle, you're going to need to be zoomed in at the highest magnification to use that reticle. And that's honestly why I went with the fire dot duplex reticle on most of my scopes, because after that experience of missing the elk, I was just like, I'm not even going to deal with it. I don't even want to have to worry with that under pressure. I'll just dial when I need to. And I've done that. But then my friend pointed out the whole thing about holding over for wind. And so I went back to using a reticle. And then as far as the available reticles, for the new Gen 2s, you have the Fire Dot Duplex, the Twilight Hunter, the Boone & Crockett reticle, which just has 3 extra hash marks. So if you sight in at 200, you have 300, 400, and 500 to potentially aim at. And then the last reticle would be the TMOA reticle, which I've talked about quite a bit. And that's probably my favorite reticle. Now, as far as weight goes, we can talk about weight real quick. I'm obviously not going to pull this one off because it's the same as the 3-18x44 that I have on over here. And I'm not going to take the scope rings off because honestly the scope rings would be on there anyway. I'm going to weigh the scopes out with rings, and then with my 3-18 to 50 I actually do have a bubble level. I'm not going to remove that either. And then looking at this 3-18 by 50mm scope here on the scale, you can see that it weighs 28.11 ounces. So let's go ahead and grab the 3-18 to 44. Looking at this scope on the scale, we can see it's 24.27 ounces. So a little over 3 ounces lighter than the 50mm objective lens. And then the 2-12 is the lightest one that I have, and this one weighs 22.82 ounces. So a couple ounces lighter than the 3-18 by 44. The only complaint that I have about the 2-12 is that if you have a 26-inch barrel or you throw a suppressor on your 22-inch barrel or your 20-inch barrel, you're going to be able to see it in your sight picture when you pull up and you're at 2 power. So just be prepared if you go for the 2-12 power scope. You might see that barrel in your sight picture if you're down at 2 power. Keep in mind that all VX6HD scopes come with a custom dial system, and most of Leupold's scopes, I think all the way down to the VX Freedom, actually have a custom dial system that you can get with it. Now, as far as the custom dial system being handy, if you live in a spot anywhere where your elevation doesn't change drastically, the custom dial system is actually going to work pretty great. Now, with all that being said, if you're someone who likes to reload or tinker, then you're not going to want to go with the custom dial system. It's not really going to be beneficial for you. Okay, so let's talk about the differences between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. First off, instead of having a reversible throw lever like the Gen 1, Gen 2 has an integrated lever like the Mark 5 or the Mark 4. So it's low profile and it makes a huge difference. Not really, but it does have an integrated throw lever. So it is a cool added feature. And then the next revolutionary game-changing feature that the Gen 2 has over the Gen 1 is the speed set dial system. So you no longer have to use an Allen key to unscrew your turret. Now you just flip a switch up and you can make your adjustments. They also added 5 extra MOA of adjustment on the turret so that it couldn't be compatible with Gen 1 turrets. So if you do want the new quick set turret feature, you have to totally buy a whole new scope. That's pretty much all the changes that they made between Gen 1 and Gen 2. Nothing revolutionary. So if you already have the Gen 1, I don't really think you need to upgrade, but if you have to have the latest and greatest and you just don't like using tools and you want to be able to just flip up a switch and make your corrections for windage and elevation, you can go ahead and do that. You can spend the extra money and get a new scope. But if you're okay with having something that doesn't have the quick set feature and you're okay with not having a integrated low profile throw lever, then you're not missing much between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. That's pretty much my long-term review of the VX-6HD Gen 1. And then I also went over the differences between the Gen 1 and Gen 2. I hope that was helpful. This scope has been super reliable for me over the years, and I've killed a pile of deer with it, and I don't think it's ever going to steer you wrong out in the field. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay connected to the wild. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel for more outdoor gear reviews and adventures. Also, don't forget to click that bell button for future notifications. I'd really appreciate that as well. And if you wanted to leave a comment, do so below. I'd love to hear your feedback. And if you've used the VX6HD, I'd love to hear what your experience has been with it. Once again, my name is Chris with Ignited by Nature, and until next time, guys and gals.